All right, I'm happy to say we're back. Sometimes I promise a short break and it ends up being 15 minutes. This time I said a short break and it was short, so I feel good about myself. All right, Devin O'Donnell's here with me. We've got round number 4 coming up. We're going to watch another Indomitable Creativity deck against Mono White Hammer this time. See if the Hammer deck is able to get enough things going before the Archon of Cruelties and their correctly resolved triggers. You better believe it.
We're not going to mess that one up this time.
No, we're not. And it's a little less significant when the trigger is likely to hit an Ornithopter or something else like that. But all right, round 4, the NRG 5K. Thanks for being with us. We've got 5 rounds of Swiss remaining, including this one, and then the elimination rounds this evening, running through all day. If you had to get up early to be with us today, we appreciate it. If you got up yesterday morning to watch the team event and you're getting up tomorrow to watch Artemis, awesome. That's what I'm doing. Devin, are you excited about Artemis tomorrow?
You're gonna probably laugh at me for saying this, but I don't know what that is.
I don't blame you. Honorark didn't know either. The NASA is launching the Artemis rocket tomorrow. It's the first real step in returning to the moon. It's exciting stuff if you're a dork like me, and I will probably get up early to watch the launch tomorrow.
Nice.
All right, Daryl Patino, Samantha Murphy, round number 4. Let's get this going. No reason to wait for us. So we've got Grixis Archon combo is what it says. It is, in fact, another Indomitable Creativity deck. And Mono White Hammer from Daryl Patino.
Yeah, so this is a fairly interesting matchup. I've seen a lot of people typically say, it seems the consensus is that the Archon deck is typically a favorite in this matchup, and that's just due to the plethora of interaction. So if we take a look, at Samantha's deck list, it looks like we got Prismari Command, Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt. So the Creativity deck has a really, they have enough interaction to kind of tread water and then kind of slam that Archon of Creativity. But obviously Daryl can definitely have draws where, a fast hammer or something along those lines, especially backed up by the Giver of Runes to kind of protect against all those removal spells that we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. What have we got? Oh, I see. Yeah. So maybe we can, it's not really relevant. Maybe we can edit Daryl's match record there. It is
30. Daryl's already played 30 matches this weekend.
Even if he had, he's still going to have some number that even if it's, 30-0, we got to get the 30, there we go. All right.
True.
Look at that direction. Got it right on 2 tries only. Excellent.
See, I kind of wanted it to just, I kind of wished it would just say 30-0, but.
Well, but then it's just ambiguous. Is it 30 match points or is it 30 match wins? We don't know. Can't have that. All right, Saga into play. This is a pretty nice start for Dale here. Anytime you can use your Springleaf Drum mana on turn 1, that's a good place to be in. And Gingerbrute comes across for 1.
Hammer.
Go ahead.
I
was even after having seen it many times now, I still can't believe Gingerbrute gets played in Modern.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because you don't see, like, a lot of these permanents don't necessarily look that threatening, but it's just, this is kind of what the Hammer deck, when it doesn't have those draws that involve, like a really fast hammer with Sigarda's Aid, it's just a lot about setup. This is a lot of setup permanents, making the Saga better, making potential top deck Puresteel Paladins better. And we saw Samantha cast a Tainted Indulgence. Now, this is a card that not a lot of Creativity decks are playing, but Samantha is playing 4 copies of Persist to pair with 4 copies of Tainted Indulgence. And this is a really, really nice way for kind of, Samantha to get some really early pressure on.
I agree. That's a nice way to get around the fact that you're not relying on just one expensive spell to be cast. That is a nice innovation. So we'll see if that comes to play here. There's not going to be interaction from Daryl's side, at least in game 1, for potential reanimation. And like we predicted, Archon is going to swallow up an Ornithopter, but still that's better than nothing. But no, it's going to be a Fable here to start.
Yeah, like imagine that turn, for example. If Samantha had a copy of Persist, you just go Persist the Archon, you get a thing, and then you also still get to hold up a Fatal Push or a Lightning Bolt. That would be a really backbreaking turn.
All right, so we're waiting for acquisition of the token. There we go.
The most expensive token in Magic. Do you want to take a guess at how much those 2/2 Goblin Shaman tokens run?
The Fable tokens?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, I always assumed that the Merit Lage tokens were pricey, but no, I don't have, you want me to guess? All right.
Yeah, take a guess.
You said it was expensive already. So I'll go with, we're talking about just like Wizards produced tokens.
Yeah, and this is from
right.
one of the most recent sets. This is from Streets of New Capenna.
I'll go with, I mean, I feel like I'm even going high. I'll say $15.
$27.
Okay.
Which we'll have to check and see if they have them in stock, but NRG.com, definitely go check them out. They might have them in stock. They probably don't because they're a hot commodity, but we'll have to see.
We got plenty of hot commodities stocked up at NRG. Although if you don't see them on the website, that might be because they brought them all to the tournament.
True.
You have available for the players. The show stock does travel. A lot of the stock does travel to the events. So yeah, if you were ever considering, hijacking a vehicle, the NRG event series weekend would be a good place to start because there's a lot of card value in there. Yeah, Norman's gonna love that comment. All right, so we've got one issue with this hammer deck is if the equipment aren't coming, then something rather unimpressive, even if it's a $27 Fable token, is able to hold off the board. That's not really the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah, now Daryl does have that Urza Saga, so we're going to be able to make a couple of tokens there. What you're going to see here is probably end step Saga activation, untap Saga activation, likely getting a Shadowspear, so we can kind of push through damage on that Shaman token. Also, maybe if Daryl finds something like a Puresteel Paladin, maybe also gets a Colossus Hammer instead. So we'll have to see. But this is kind of the setup that Samantha was looking for, because now you could see something like attack. So this Dwarven Mine is going to generate a 1/1. You can go attack with the Shaman token, generate a treasure, and now you have 5 mana with 2 creatures, which then equals creativity for 2. Right. So that sets up a nice creativity turn if Samantha has access to that.
Although that may require the 5 mana 2 creatures would require the token to survive its attack, which it probably wouldn't. Instead, we're going to see hard evidence here. Putting a whole collection of stuff onto the board.
Yeah, so it kind of seems to me that Samantha just doesn't have a payoff. No persist, no creativity. So maybe just kind of drawing a little bit too much air here.
Yeah. So that's kind of the case on both sides, except this Urza Saga is going to allow Daryl to really build up a board presence, put a lot of pressure on. And this Fable, I mean, I suppose Mono White Hammer is not going to be great at actually killing the Fable itself, the actual Kiki-Jiki, but then there's not a whole lot for it to do right now either.
Yeah, and you saw the pickup there. That was a Puresteel Paladin, so we might change up our line a little bit here. So Daryl looks like we're just going to float him in instead of making a second Saga token. I would have to guess this is probably getting a hammer with the Paladin drawn. Yeah, that makes sense. So now you could see something like tap the 2 planes, play the Paladin, use the floating mana, activate Gingerbrute, equip the Gingerbrute. That's 11 unblockable there. And then I guess you can't really give her, because there's 2 different colors of creatures to block. There's a red creature and a blue creature, so we can't give her the construct past the blocker that way. So as far as I can tell, not a lethal attack, but definitely going to put Samantha in a pretty rough spot here.
Right. So from Samantha's perspective here, we're just looking at block. There is a creativity in hand, it looks like. So maybe it's just block what we can and then set up for a big turn next turn. Because with a couple creatures coming in, with a couple Archons coming in, that will, in addition to clearing out some of Daryl's board, also pad Samantha's life total a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're right. This is going to be a fairly sizable attack.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, that is true, because Samantha could have cast the creativity last turn, but as we talked about, if the Shaman token did attack, it would have just got swallowed up by the Saga token, so you would have been left over with a 1/1 and a treasure, but if you sack the treasure, you can't target, well, you're allowed to, but it doesn't do anything if you target it with creativity, so it would have still only been creativity for 1, so Samantha probably is just trying to set up for maybe a bigger creativity this turn.
So we've got we got 6 creatures in play for Daryl right now. So he's gonna have plenty of leftovers even after the Archon Barrage. He will lose his hand, but probably not too worried about that.
Yeah, the awkward thing about this situation is there's 5 non-Gingerbrute creatures, and the Gingerbrute is lethal by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Even with, well, I guess 3 Archon triggers puts Samantha to 13, and the Gingerbrute is 11, so not technically lethal. Right, because you gain 9, go to 13, and then, yeah, the Gingerbrute's 11.
Well, that's if... Okay, I was going to say if there's a land, but there is. It's a fetch land.
Oh, wow. Chad actually makes a good point. Creativity can target the hammer. I didn't even think of that. So you can creativity the hammer and just hope that Daryl doesn't spin another hammer. Maybe... Yeah, that's actually kind of... I'm assuming we have enough mana for that, right? So we go Dwarven Mine, get a token. You can attack with the Goblin Shaman token, even though it's going to die because you get another treasure. So then you go creativity for 3, right? Because we have 5 lands plus the treasure. Creativity for 3. Target your 2 tokens and the hammer.
And now Giver can only protect a creature, right? It can't protect a permanent, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, only creatures.
Yeah. All right.
Target creature, yeah.
The token actually might survive the attack this time also. If the token attacked and then got blocked and Giver of Runes protected whatever blocked it, then the Novel Creativity could actually hit the Gingerbrute as another option. So a lot of...
It's a good point.
Things that could be in play here.
Yeah. A lot of things to think about. This is a really complicated board state, especially once you kind of throw in the creativity, your opponent's things in the mix. There's a lot of different outcomes and a lot of different situations with how this turn could go. So
yeah. All right. So here's the attack. Here is the treasure made, giving Samantha access to 6 mana. All right. Construct blocks.
Only 1 treasure, right? Treasure clue. So. 03 and then 2 1/1s. Okay.
All right. Well, this is the turn. And it is going to be for 3.
See what Samantha targets.
Oh, it's going after... Okay, so it is the Gingerbrute.
Uh-oh, that's probably not what we wanted to do. I think we had to go after the hammer. Maybe Samantha... Huh. Yeah, I wonder what's the reasoning for going after the brood, not the hammer there.
All right, so this is going to be a creativity resolving for 2 for a pair of Archons. And...
Yeah, but this is not enough, right? Because then we gain... Daryl just sacrifices probably the Ornithopter and the Sentinel. We gain 6, go to 9, and then we just go on tap, activate Gingerbrute, attack for 11.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I can tell, this is not going to be enough.
Daryl could trigger the Esper Sentinel to draw a card here. However, he would have to discard it anyway from the Archon triggers.
I think he's got a couple of cards in his hand down at the bottom there.
He's got at least 1. I thought it was just 1. Maybe if it's 2, then yeah, it's just 1.
So discard the planes, but yeah, this should be lights out. Yep, sack the Thopter, sack the Sentinel, and then no haste creatures for Samantha to block the Gingerbrute, so that should be enough to cross the finish line. Make Daryl go through the motions.
Yep, activate, attack, and game 1 goes to Daryl Patino. Question about so the Fable itself was still summoning sick. It had just rolled into chapter 3 there. Otherwise, I believe that would have worked. Copying something to make a haste blocker. But yeah. But no, actually,
right, because the Fable gives it haste. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the Fable was not available yet. All right, so let's go ahead and bring up the deck lists. for these two players. Daryl Patino's Mono White Hammer up first. There we go. So these decks have changed a little bit over time, but still basically the same. No more splashing.
Yeah, that's something you usually see, even more recently, you see like Spell Pierce, Mana Leak, Teferi, things of that nature. But just plain old mono white here. A little bit more of a deep equipment package too. We see a Nettlecyst, a Sword of Fire and Ice, and a Kaldra Compleat to go with the Stoneforges. So
right, that's what caught my eye also, seeing 3 large equipment there. So okay, that's what Daryl Patino's got. Do we have Sideboard available? Okay, we do. So we're playing against Indomitable Creativity for Archons. Well, Hushbringer seems like a winner.
There's a card here that I haven't seen in quite some time. There's that 3 of going third from the right hand side. That is Hallowed Moonlight.
I agree. That's one I haven't seen in quite some time either.
But pretty good in a matchup like this.
Yes, it is. So that is a way to. It's an instant speed containment. Well, okay, I was going to say instant speed containment priest, but that is not a valid comment as containment priest has flash. But yeah, as an instant and a cantrip. And Relic of Progenitus, I mean, that stops the persist version if Daryl's even aware of it.
Daryl probably would at least kind of sniff that out because you saw Tainted Indulgence that game, and that's not a card that typical creativity decks would play. I don't even think I've seen it in any list, to be fair. So once you see the indulgences, you can it's probably safe to assume that there's a heavy persist theme going on here.
All right, so let's go ahead and look at Samantha's deck list. Meanwhile, there's a question: does Hallowed Moonlight stop the Kiki Jiki transform? That depends on whether it exiles itself and returns or whether it just transforms. I don't actually know the answer to that.
I believe it exiles itself because I know for a fact that it triggers Fatal Push. Triggers Revolt on Fatal Push. So I believe it exiles itself.
That's a good call. Then it would. All right, so we see Samantha Murphy's Grixis Archon combo here. Full set of Archons. Not too much unique here, except for, like you said, the Persist Tainted Indulgence setup. And also we have 1 Transmogrify. So really a lot of enablers here for Samantha to get things rolling.
Yeah, for sure. And this is going to be especially important in this matchup with those Hallowed Moonlights. That's going to be a card that that Daryl's going to bring in and lean on, and Samantha having access to a pretty good way to circumvent that. And then we look in the sideboard for Samantha. We're going to be probably bringing in Alpine Boons, Pyroclasm, Inquisition, and that would probably be it for me.
Okay. All right. Game 2 is underway.
And planes go. Not a typical opening start for Mono White Hammer. I wonder what Daryl's got going on over there.
Well, I feel like the chance of there being meaty sideboard cards dramatically increases when there's no development on turn 1, and that's something that Samantha is probably capable of recognizing as well. That like, hey, my opponent played 4 cards on turn 1 last game, and this game just a land. Why do they keep this hand? What can I expect to have to battle through this game?
I see somebody in chat asking about the Unmoored Ego in Samantha's sideboard. I have to imagine that's for big mana like Tron, potentially Amulet, also maybe Cascade, Living End, things like that.
Sure. I mean, that all makes sense. There's a Saga.
Okay. Now I got a quick glimpse of Daryl's hand. It looks like there is Colossus Hammer, and I think an Ornithopter as well. Potentially, I maybe saw a Puresteel Paladin. So I think what Daryl's trying to set up, rather than kind of go one by one, especially because Daryl's aware of the presence of potential Spell Pierce, maybe Daryl is just trying to kind of throw everything at Samantha all at once to kind of overload potential Spell Pierces or interaction. So that could be something that Daryl's playing towards. Also, I did see a Hallowed Moonlight, so that could be something. And this is going to be kind of rough. I can imagine a scenario where Samantha goes end of turn Indulgence, untap Persist, and you fire off that Moonlight. Oh, that's going to be a rough one.
Well, there's
yep. It's like a train wreck just waiting to happen. You can just you see it right before your eyes.
Well, this only works if Samantha has all the pieces, which is unfortunate because then, I mean, is there a world where even if you have it, you wait until your opponent has a creature? I don't think so, because the attack trigger, I think you just do it immediately if you have it. Okay, Fable is the discard, so that disaster avoided.
Yeah. So discard Fable instead of playing Fable. But I guess that's fair because Samantha doesn't necessarily want to tap out. So it's weird because I think Samantha can probably pick up on the fact that Daryl's playing around Spell Pierce because he's not playing anything.
Mhm.
And even though Samantha doesn't have Spell Pierce, she doesn't want to tap out to tell Daryl that she doesn't have it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she's kind of playing this mind game with Daryl almost.
Well, there's the Archon. And
just want to point out that we have almost 1,200 people in the chat. Thank you all for tuning in. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to hit that follow button. And hope you guys are enjoying some live magic because I'm having a blast.
Okay, there's the persist. See, you left a part out there. Yeah, you're asking them to follow if they're enjoying themselves. You got to get everybody. If you hate the coverage, you can't stand us, you should also hit the follow button.
All right, well, here's the disaster.
Yeah, Hallowed Moonlight.
Yeah. Oh, no, we got a reader.
At least it costs Daryl, from Samantha's perspective, it costs Daryl a construct.
That's true.
That's something.
That's true.
Maybe not enough to make you feel good about the turn, but
the problem is now, obviously Daryl got a card out of the Moonlight, and the Archon is now exiled. So now Samantha has to basically have all the pieces again to set everything up, it makes it much more brutal. It's not necessarily a 1-for-1. It's almost, I would quantify it as like a 2.5-for-1. It's not clear that the Archon in the graveyard is worth the full card because if Samantha doesn't have a second persist, maybe it's not. Mm-hmm. So, probably more like a 2.5-for-1, I would say.
All right. So here goes the saga. So no constructs made off of this saga. And heading into turn 4 here, this is an unusual hand size for a mono white hammer.
Yeah, I know, right? Daryl just has like 9 cards or something.
But let's see. We're likely to see some explosion of stuff here.
Daryl was fanning through the deck. I almost thought that was his hand for a second.
Yeah. So I believe Samantha has her Pyroclasm in hand. So that when Daryl does decide to commit to the board, that will likely clean up everything except whatever might have an equipment on it.
Yeah, the thing is, with Daryl getting a hammer, that your Pyroclasm may or may not be good, because that means there's probably a Paladin. And I do think I caught a glimpse of a Paladin at some point. Yeah, there's a Paladin. So it looks like, we probably just want to do this while we have the ability. So very good sequencing by Daryl. You saw play out the Ornithopters, then play the Paladin. Just minor sequencing thing. You always want to make sure you have 3. If you're going for this line, you want to make sure you have 3 artifacts in play before playing the Paladin so that you can immediately equip it before your opponent has a chance to have a removal spell.
Right. And you, am I correct in saying you do not want to be equipping the Paladin here?
Yeah, my guess is probably you want to equip an Ornithopter. The thing is, if you equip a Paladin and Samantha does have a Lightning Bolt, then you don't get to equip anything. Right. Whereas if you equip the Ornithopter and Samantha decides to bolt the Ornithopter, well, then you could just have another artifact and then equip it to the other Ornithopter or something along those lines. So.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens here. Samantha does have a Lightning Bolt. And a Dwarven Mine token in play.
So I think what's going to happen is Samantha's going to go Bolt Ornithopter.
Okay, well, that's a Bolt on the Paladin. So that's out of here. And then, push on the... So either way, so that cleans up all the problems there.
How? Okay. Oh, I wonder if Daryl went to equip the Paladin.
Potentially. No, I don't think so, because Samantha wouldn't have killed the Ornithopter in that case.
Well, I'm trying to think of the sequencing, right? Because Daryl got the hammer off the saga, played Ornithopter, then played Paladin, right?
Okay, we can discuss that during the sideboarding because the Download Creativity has wiped out the rest of this game, and we're heading to game 3. Okay, so continue with what your thought there.
Yeah, so I was just trying to think of the sequencing because we went. Daryl went. get the hammer off the Saga, play Ornithopter, then play Paladin. And then it looked like Samantha was responding. But I was trying to think of, you can't respond to the Paladin and bolt the Paladin. So if the Paladin resolves, then if you're, let's say, I guess what Samantha was doing is maybe there was a shortcut where like Paladin resolved, you go Colossus Hammer to the Ornithopter, then you just go bolt the Paladin, Fatal Push the Ornithopter. Okay, that's likely what happened there.
Yeah, it's no different really than killing the Ornithopter and then the Paladin. It's the same. And then and she was ready to go. That Indelible Creativity flew out of the holster and blew that game away. So going to game 3 here with Daryl on the play to try and take down the match. That is interesting. So game 1, he has an aggressive draw and is able to finish it off with Gingerbrute. Game 2, a very slow developing hand with Sideboard card. The Sideboard card does pay off, but it's not enough.
Right. It's one of those things where you draw your Sideboard card, but your Sideboard card unless it's something like a Leyline of the Void against Dredge or something along those lines. Your Sideboard card is a minor inconvenience, but it's not a haymaker, and that's exactly what it was. It was a minor inconvenience for Samantha. The issue is Daryl didn't have any pressure to back it up with, and that's kind of what you saw that game.
Yeah. So Daryl mulligans and Samantha hand on forehead, considering the keep, and well, we'll find out.
I think she already kept.
Okay.
Saw Fable, saw a couple lands. Didn't get a great glimpse of what else was there, but
practically a keep already.
It's good enough, right?
Fable is quite good at, even if the what's the name of the actual saga when it becomes a creature? Because the token is what's the name of the actual thing? Is it just Fable or is it?
Oh, it's Reflection.
Reflection. That's what it is. You're right. Yeah. Reflection. Okay. So Reflection may not do a whole lot for this deck, but certainly the tokens do, and just the value provided by the rummaging. All right, so on the board with the Esper Sentinel first, a card we saw do a lot of annoying work yesterday in Legacy. Also regularly played here in these modern Hammer decks.
Yeah, see, if I got a good glimpse at Daryl's hand, this is kind of exactly what Daryl's looking for. Pressure, and I think I also saw Moonlight. So you have a good setup here. Sentinel essentially taxing Samantha, so you're going to get some cards out of it that way. You have the turn 2 Saga to get a little bit of pressure going that way, and then you also have your Sideboard card. That's kind of where the Sideboard card really shines, is when you're also applying that pressure.
Right. Okay, so let's see. We're unlikely to see a removal spell end the turn here because of just the... Oh, I take it back. We are. So Sentinel's going to pick up a card. So no disaster there. Now they're back to just even cards where they would have been if Daryl hadn't mulliganed. And the second Sentinel is deployed. So maybe we're going to combat there.
End of turn. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, another Sentinel draw, but this is also a 1-for-1 trade as the Saga gets killed. Well, I guess it's kind of a 2-for-1. Anyway, so Sentinel up 2 cards already. That's a pretty great Sentinel.
Yeah, and no second land for Samantha.
Yeah.
So I guess you were probably right with the what hemming and hawing about keeping the hand.
Yeah. And okay, so Samantha kept the hand based on Fatal Push and Alpine Moon and good development once the lands came, but they are not there, and that's an issue. This Hammer deck can get on top of you real quick.
Yep, this is going to be a tough one, and as we mentioned, now the good thing for Samantha is she bought herself a lot of time with the Alpine Moon because the bulk of Daryl's pressure was involving the Sagas, but now that he picked up the Sigarda's aid, we're going to combine that with the Hammer. We'll have to see if Samantha has a bolt or a Fatal Push. I'm assuming that Daryl's not gonna go for it, which I guess kind of makes sense. So you see Samantha keep a 1-lane hand. You kind of have to expect that there is a decent amount of 1-mana interaction.
Yeah,
I think I saw Samantha draw a land for the turn, but she's at the point where she's like, okay, well, I've already gone this far. I might as well just discard the Archon.
Interesting. Sure, that makes sense. And if Daryl didn't have a Hallowed Moonlight here, that might actually work.
Although it might not have been a land. I might be seeing things.
Okay.
Nope, okay.
Well, yeah.
Never mind.
Once maybe. Twice, probably not.
Yeah.
And yeah, Daryl may be... yeah, okay, waiting for the opportunity to send the Nexus in here. And it's like, they're both hammers. What are you going to do?
Throwing some cards.
Actually, just take 2. Okay. Or take 1 plus the poison. Excuse me.
Yeah, so Daryl choosing not to go for it, again, probably makes sense because you know that Samantha's eventually going to have to tap out for something, you know?
Yeah, well,
she's definitely going to.
Right.
Now, I will say, Archon of Cruelty, it doesn't matter because Daryl has the Moonlight. But if Daryl didn't have the Moonlight, Archon did have flying, so you could see maybe sacrifice the Sentinel, and then Archon would be able to essentially chump block the Nexus through the hammer hit, but likely we're going to see a persist. Daryl's going to play Hallowed Moonlight and then untap and kill with the Inkmoth Nexus. So that should be the end of this game, assuming that Samantha does cast the persist. And she's in a spot where she probably just has to jam at this point. She can't really afford to wait.
Yeah. Another draw from Sentinel, and there is the Hallowed Moonlight. Archon is out of here. I mean, that is a nice plan, but this sideboard card was very effective, even though it wasn't enough to win game 2.
Something that I just was an oversight by me when we were talking about the sideboard games is I had forgotten that Hallowed Moonlight was basically good against both halves of the combo. I was thinking that it was only good for the creativity half, but obviously it's good against the reanimator half, and that's kind of what we saw those games.
Right, and against the reflection also. Yeah, so actually that card does a lot of work. 3 copies is a significant commitment in your sideboard, but certainly looks like a meaningful card in that matchup. All right, so Daryl Patino will take that down and move to 4-0. Samantha Murphy still more than alive in the tournament at 3-1, and we'll see if we've got a live backup or a time shifted match this round. So let's go ahead and roll it. Second match coming
with Joe Lissette's favorite deck name.
Oh boy, yes, Ivan Espinosa. I mentioned this earlier today. Ivan Espinosa loves 10. He registered his deck as 10 rack once again. That's what he does every single time. And it's 4-color Yorion Mirror against Adam Wasburn-Moses. So this is a matchup that I feel like is problematic for the format because the games just take a very long time.
Okay, I just refreshed the page and now it shows Ivan Espinosa's deck list as 4-color blank. So I don't know if that was a production change or if that was an Ivan change, but either way, I'm for it. Thank you.
No, it was definitely not an Ivan change. I guarantee it. But we've got that updated to make that simpler for people looking back at the deck list later on. Anyway, so we'll see how this game plays out. It's going to be a while, however it goes.
But Joe, did you ever think about the 10 rack players?
Yeah, I mean the 10 rack players. I mean, well, 10 racks. That's just too many in the first place. If you're trying to bluff your deck list, give us a real name like 7 racks. 10? Come on. You're playing that Planeswalkers too? I don't know. Question: is this sped up? It is to some degree.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's enough. One of the paper PTQs I was at about a month ago, it was modern. Ivan Espinosa playing 4-color Mirror. There was a unintentional draw in the Swiss, and then in the top 8, I won my quarterfinal match. Then went over and watched 20 or so minutes of game 1. Lined up several chairs together and took a nap. Woke up, came over and watched game 3, which took another 45 minutes. But yeah, these players, they know that the time commitment to these decks is real, but it is a good deck. And so people are still playing it, and you got to have tech for the mirror. And I'm sure these players do. I'll take a quick look.
Yeah, let's do an Emrakul count.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's look for main deck Emrakuls. All right, we got one
Ivan,
for Adam.
Yeah, I got one for Ivan too. So
okay,
main deck.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's something where now what's interesting to me as these players continue to not do much on the board, although this Ren 6 will become a reasonable threat eventually. I mean, Adam can't let that ultimate.
Yeah, normally this is kind of like this is the litmus test in the mirror, is if one player has Ren and 6 going and the other doesn't, it's typically a runaway. Just the amount of advantage that card gives you, and turn after turn after turn, and it is a looming threat. It's not just something you can just sit there. Okay, well, I'm going to give my opponent 5 or 6 cards, and maybe I can just come back from that later on in the game with my own iterations and stuff like that, it's a threat. It's going the ultimate will win the game. So.
Right. All right, so up to 6 land acquired to hand. But yeah, this matchup, the draw I watched at the paper RCQ on turn, I don't know, let's say 10, I'm guessing here, Ivan cast Emrakul. It was killed by Solitude, and then Ivan destroyed his opponent's hand, but Ivan had no additional pressure. And then about 8 turns later, the other player cast Emrakul. It got killed by Solitude, and then Ivan's hand got destroyed. And the game just went on and on and on. And that's how things can go sometimes. But there are ways, like you're saying, there are ways for things to end earlier, and a runaway Ren 6 is one of them.
Yeah, and we see a really heads-up play by Ivan, main phasing the Endurance because he is aware of the presence of Unholy Heat. So, for example, if obviously Adam didn't have Unholy Heat in his hand because he would have casted the turn before, but if Adam does draw Unholy Heat, then, if you go end of turn Endurance and here Adam responds and has the Heat for the Ren 6, then that's, so very heads-up play by Ivan.
Okay, so Adam does have Counterspell in hand, Omnath. I mean, those are nice tools. There's a Solitude, I believe. Dress Down. These are all good cards, but they're all designed to deal with creatures or spells. And Ren 6 is already on the board, and the clock is ticking, rolling up to 7 here.
Right, and if, as we talked about, the Endurance attacking for 3, we can probably... Life totals basically don't matter as much in this matchup until we've gotten to turn 700. But, the Ren 6 is definitely something that Adam does have to take into consideration if basically looking for that prismatic ending for sure.
All right, so here is a Dress Down. This is second main phase. It could potentially be setting up a Pitchcast Solitude to be able to attack, but no, that's not the case.
Could also see something like Omnath, Fetchland, and maybe a Fury.
All right, so here's a Solitude with the draw trigger on the stack. So no free mana from Adam Wasburn-Moses, and he's going to need a Lightning Bolt or an Unholy Heat, and I believe there might be an Unholy Heat in hand. There's some red card towards the bottom.
Tilting my head sideways like it does anything, but yeah,
I can't tell. Yeah,
I see. I think it's red. I think it's red. It looks red. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a Heat.
Well, it's not
quite delirious, but
right. No, it isn't. So that means we're going to play this. Well, that's a forest. So, all right.
So I wonder if he is okay with the emblem and just kind of hopes that Ivan doesn't have a second Ren, because the Ren emblem without if he's going to instantly do this, he probably has a second Ren. But I was going to say the Ren emblem without a second Ren could potentially, Ivan could eventually run out of gas. Like doesn't have actual infinite lands, but if he's making an emblem here, probably I would guess as a second Ren, or maybe he just figures that this is more important. It wants to get the emblem, and then even if the game goes on for a few more turns, like it's going to, he'll eventually find another Ren to go with to pair with that emblem.
All right, there it is, right there. But yeah, obviously Ivan's hand's gonna be stacked with lands at the moment anyway, because he's effectively not had to play any since turn 2. Here is the Ren 6 coming into play. Adam is tapped out with Delirium, and if we're talking about potential Emrakul, I believe Adam has 5 land in play, plus 1 in hand. So that's still, he's a little ways away.
Yeah, 4 types. So we got 4 types plus 6 is 10. So we're 3 away combination of lands and additional card types.
Yeah. But it's just the amount of card advantage that the Ren 6 emblem with Expressive Iteration, or really any sort of I don't know what kind of tutoring Ivan has in his deck, whether it's Eldarmor's Call or Traverse the Uvenwald. I'll check. Actually, 4 Eldarmor's Call in the deck. So once one of those is drawn, then every land turns into a creature. And
I think I saw a call on Ivan's hand, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one of those spots you have to really think about time considerations. This might actually be a spot where you might want to consider conceding. Now, this might be a little bit too early, but with the Red Emblem in play, and there's an iteration in the graveyard, it's got to be on the back of your mind, right?
Right. Right. I think so too. I mean, if you have Emrakul in your hand, I think you wait and cast it and then see if you can recover. That can recover you. I don't know that it
Yeah,
will, but I think you at least give it that long.
true. Yeah,
This match, I mean, this game, I totally get what you're saying. But this game hasn't taken. It's hard to tell the pace of play when we're sped up anyway. But these players are both experienced, so I doubt they're wasting too much time, and they know. They
yeah,
realize
they're
that the
they're
draw is
aware of the
essential.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, both these players, I'm sure, have played enough mirrors and both play enough on the tour
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff. Where I'm sure that they're very aware that of the situation here. They both need to play at a very reasonable pace. But yeah, I'm with you. If you already have the Emrakul in hand, like you said, give it a couple of turns, see if you can get that to work, and and then if that for some reason if that doesn't work, then yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's an unholy heat from Ivan on the Quaddle, and that's a play that I would imagine that you would be somewhat hesitant to make normally. But with this Run and 6 emblem, it's just a land. So Ivan is free to fire things off, even if it's giving card advantage to Adam at any point, just pushing damage through. Adam down to 9. If Ivan draws a lightning bolt, he
Yeah.
can just wipe Adam out.
Do we
And
have
Adam
bolts?
maybe realizes the same thing and just packs it in there.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was gonna say, didn't even wait for the Emrakul. Maybe you could give it a couple of turns, but yeah, he just
Mhm.
he knows.
Yeah, so there actually so we'll bring up the deck list. There actually are no lightning bolts in Ivan's deck, but even so, it is still fairly tough to beat that expressive iteration. So let's go ahead and take a look at the deck lists. Endurance might have been another reason for Adam to continue playing that game, but didn't have one of those either. And you can see there, even with the switching to the number format instead of the card layout, Ivan's deck still doesn't entirely fit on the screen with all the
Yeah,
different multiples of cards.
I assume this is that was the reason for doing the layout in an attempt to get the
Mhm.
full 80 cards. But yeah, there's still too much going on with the Yorion decks. But yeah, as we talked about, the main deck Emrakul, Ivan's deck list is a little bit different than maybe some of the other ones you'll see. There is still Risen Reefs here. I know that people have been kind of back and forth on that stuff. No Traverses. We see Eladamri's Call and 2 Oath of Nisses instead. So a little bit of differences from the kind of the more traditional ones that you've seen.
Mhm. All right, and let's go ahead and I guess we can go through the sideboard too. We'll see. We do have Obsidian Charmaw. Maybe we'll see that's just as a land destruction as a threat. Ephemerate's in the board is interesting.
Yeah, I haven't played enough four color decks to know when you're supposed to want Ephemerate versus not wanting Ephemerate, but
Mhm.
I would have to imagine it's probably good in this matchup. It like
Yeah.
protects your Omnaths, rebuys your Furies to kill their Omnaths. So I would assume it's a card you want, but
Mhm.
tough to say.
All right, let's go ahead and look at Adam's deck real quick, and then we'll roll game two. Probably a lot of similarities here. Well, okay, so we know Risen Reefs, so that's a significant distinction, and then the tutor package is different.
Yeah, so Traverse,
Mhm.
Overcall, has Bobble, and no Oath of Nisses. Still has the main deck Endurance. No main deck Fury. That was a card that Ivan had that Adam doesn't. So small differences, but meaningful ones, because the Traverse versus Illidarmer's Call is a pretty big debate. So even though it's only 6 cards off in the 95, it does make quite a bit of difference.
Mhm. All right, let's go ahead and look at the sideboard here. For Veil of Summer. Well, that is a significant difference as Ivan was not playing those, and so this is more of a spell-based sideboard, not more focused. And Ivan had more of a variety of cards. Veil of Summer can do some work. Teferi obviously shuts it down pretty badly. This isn't.
Yeah, there's
I'm
not a
less.
lot here.
Yeah, there really isn't. I'm less excited
I
about
don't
this sideboard.
I'm not feeling the Veils, like you said. They're really bad against the Fairy, and they're not that
Yeah.
great against Fury and Solitude as well.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's a card you want access to, unless like maybe you're worried about counter. Well, unless there was a presence of a ton of counter spells. But
Mhm. All right. All right, so we're going to actually switch into game two live. This match is still ongoing, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's a mess. It's almost
I'm
like there's
sorry,
three players
I
in
can't
this
help
game.
myself.
Well, there's a player sitting at the top of the screen, and you can see their Forest, Risen Reef, and Omnath in play there at the top.
This, I'm going to be honest with you, this just looks like a commander game.
Yeah, right. And not a 2-player commander game at that.
Yeah.
So it does look like Adam has most of the action at this point. Ivan with just 2 cards in hand.
I see a lot of Omnaths exiled for Adam. I think at least 3. There's 2 on top. I'm pretty sure there's 3 Omnaths exiled for Adam. So this has been quite the game.
Mm-hmm. Fairy meets a counterspell. Let's go see if we can find out the time remaining in the round.
I think Norm said it was about 10 minutes left, and that was a couple of minutes ago. So
okay. 6 minutes,
6
give
minutes.
or take. So Ivan life total plus 20. Adam's at 36.
How many Emeralds do you think have been solitude this game with those life totals? Probably one on each side, right?
I mean, that is okay. Yeah, that was the updates from the tech just there. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. This late in the game, with the amount of tutors they have, it's not like we're in a scenario where, I've got an 80 card deck. Will I ever draw my Emerald in time? They're effectively playing 5 copies each. So if they want them, they've probably been found already.
It's kind of funny. So currently Ivan is up a game, right? Both players know there is no chance that they ever finish a game 3. So this game, the match is essentially being decided with this game. It's either Ivan wins 1-0 or the match ends in a draw.
Right. Unholy Heat takes down the Solitude, leaving the run 6 in play. Now, there's no way to is there a way to recur the Emeralds from the graveyard?
From the graveyard. Let's take a look. So. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Sometimes you see Eternal Witnesses, but neither of these players are playing Eternal Witness, so yeah, I don't think there is a way.
All right, so it's a dress down, wiping out the Fury trigger, and then Solitude comes back.
Solitude, kill it.
Yay. End step after dress down expires.
You see Adam kind of smelling blood here. He just like we talked about. This game is essentially this game is going to decide the match. Yeah. And Adam just wants to make sure that this game is finished. And yeah, looks like okay. So I mean, this is 95% going to be a draw. I don't even know if they're going to spend time shuffling up for game 3.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. But
so if we figure there's 4 or 5 minutes on the clock right now. So hypothetically here, what could happen to allow someone to just break a game open within a couple minutes span? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I guess like both players are playing at lightning speed. You go like turn 2 Ren, turn 3 Risen Reef, turn 4 Omnath. Like the thing about the 4-color deck is there's just not really that many ways to put actual pressure. Like Ren and 6, yes, it's pressure, but not in the sense of it's depleting your life total. It's just inevitability. But as far as getting the life total from 20 to 0, that's almost impossible to do within a 5-minute time span.
Yeah, I mean, Endurance into Omnath is probably the most power you could put on the board, but yeah, this stuff is just answerable by everything in the deck. And especially if you're not having to they're going to try. Okay.
We're going to try it out.
We'll find out. If you're not worried about the longer game, you don't have to, you can be perfectly happy pitch casting Incarnations because the game's not going to last long enough for the card disadvantage to matter.
Yeah, the one thing I was thinking of is potentially if, because I think Ivan did have the Ephemerates, what you could see is kind of Fury, Evoke, no target, trigger on the stack, Ephemerate, I have a 4/4 double strike, hope you don't have an answer, you know? Hypothetically, that could happen. That's the quickest way to get to a victory, I think.
We have seen that. We saw the Elementals deck back in November winning games like that against, however, not in this matchup. That was against Hammer, where there wasn't a good answer to it. 2 minutes remaining. Okay,
2 minutes.
Good luck.
Yeah, we're gonna need Ephemerate Fury.
Yeah, Fury is a 3/3 double strike, but 6 damage a turn is still pretty considerable. Adam mulliganed 1 time, and yeah, we can see they're playing quickly, but like you can't shuffle an 80 card deck quickly. It's impossible.
No, it is. Especially if Ivan. I think Ivan might be double sleeve with perfect cards because all of his cards are so shiny and fancy. So even harder to shuffle. Double sleeve with perfect cards.
Okay, both
Oh, the beatdowns.
Yeah.
Attack. 20 turns. Let's go.
Yeah, Ivan's off to a bad start. He's actually 17. I mean, Cavern's nice. Risen Reef. and
Another
everything else would be
1/1.
uncounterable. Yeah, and gets a land and a fetch land. So that powers up Omnath if Ivan has one.
Okay. So you could see like fetch Omnath. Maybe maybe Adam doesn't have a solitude for the Omnath.
All right.
Okay.
But this is just, I mean, I understand they're trying.
Yeah.
But I know that we can look at this as saying this is pretty hopeless. They know that also. They're just trying.
Yeah, I'll give him an A for effort. They got to try it.
All right, a couple of abundant growths. Yeah, the last thing you want to be doing is wasting time on cantrips when you've got some number of seconds to try and win the game with a 1-power creature. But
right,
that's where we are.
Yeah, really need like an Omnath or something. Uncontested Omnath is how one player can potentially win a game within that time frame.
Yeah.
But with what we got the note that it was 2 minutes, probably 2 minutes ago, so they got to be close to within time.
Yeah, all manner of shortcutting happening here, but
ooh, we're not close to that Emrakul, are we?
No, I think the Emrakul might have gone to the bottom.
No, he took it.
Oh, he did. Okay.
I don't think we're close to it. I think we got Sorcery, Planeswalker, Land, Artifact. So that's 4. Yeah, we're not even close to it.
All right, so red and 6 will pick off another 1 toughness creature. I mean, the further you get before time is called, the more turns we have, obviously. Here's the Omnath with fetch land in play. So that can, if Ivan has another fetch land, and well, scratch that. That's not even, we're not going to get that far.
There's a Solitude.
And I feel like that pretty much locks it up. Like if that Omnath had been able to go nuts, maybe.
Yeah, but now you give Ivan 4 life, so you know that you're not going to kill Ivan. And now we're just at.
And you put yourself in the draw bracket here, which is, I mean, is there a deck more likely to draw in Modern than 4-color? I would assume not.
No.
Yeah.
No. Even like Azorius Control, I think is probably less likely to draw, especially the versions that have like Days Undoing Narset. So yeah, I would have to imagine that there is no deck in the format more likely to draw than 4-color.
So that means these players, if they take a draw here, are looking at potential mirrors for the afternoon, at least more often than not. And that's an unpleasant way to go. Would you ever consider conceding a game in this scenario to not be in the draw bracket?
It's funny you say that because I was just going to say I would probably rather concede a match, knowing that I'm playing the best deck in the format. I'd rather concede a match and be less likely to play the mirror match than be way more likely to play a mirror match because, to be completely honest with you, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of skill in this mirror match. You're both just kind of like just killing each other's stuff, and the game just goes super long. I don't know. So there seems like there's a lot more variance involved in the mirror matches, and I'd rather, like, if I'm playing a deck this powerful, I'd rather put myself in a bracket where I'm less likely to play mirror matches that are decided by much more variance.
So even though it's an unpleasant thing to admit, I agree with you completely that these mirrors, it feels like if there's a big gap, sure. But if you're the slightly more experienced player with a slightly better sideboard, I don't know how much it matters. The one thing is that the games go deep enough that if you do have a better deck, you're going to see those cards. You're not that likely to get killed before you can draw things if you have more than one of them, or if they're a tutor target. So if you came into this with, I don't know, let's say 15 mana Emrakul, conceivably, you could draw it in a sideboard game and cast it, before the game would be over. Like maybe not every time, but like what are we seeing ending these games? That's maybe too extreme of an example, but
that would be that's the next text. That's the next tech.
Right? I mean, you're
just going to start to see 4-color players show up with 15-mana Emrakul.
Yeah, what are you going to do? You're going to 13-mana Emrakul me, and you're going to see a 15-mana Emrakul in my hand? Good luck.
Yeah.
I guess you could say I'll cast your Emrakul and miss the trigger. I don't think that's how it works.
Nope.
So
I don't think so.
Yeah, as we're kind of just, I actually astonished. Oh, is that die at the bottom, turn 4? That must be, right? Yeah, okay. So we are right at the end here. But yeah, I feel like given the strength of the deck in the format, we had, I don't know, a few months ago, we had, some people with Emrakul as the sideboard card. And then we had some people with Emrakul main deck. And now I feel like we have most people having Emrakul main deck. And so
I would say that's probably stock at this point.
Yeah. And so I think we've reached the point where if you want to have the edge in the mirror, you need to go further. I don't know what that is, but I think we looked at these 2-player sideboards. Whatever the edge in the mirror is, they don't have it. And so
yeah.
we're in this scenario.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there's an additional threat that you could play in your sideboard that's like a cheap threat that gets under counter magic, that provides some sort of like, especially in these games, because the games literally always come down to time. So if you had something in your sideboard, like, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but like something like a Monastery Mentor, that would allow you to actually close out a game within a meaningful time frame. I don't know if that's the answer, but something along those lines,
right,
where it's a card that allows you to actually win a game in a small time window.
Right. Yeah, something like that. I don't think that someone in the chat says Sundering Titan. That would do some work.
Yeah, that's true.
Teferi into Sundering Titan. Your opponent's not likely to cast Emrakul after that.
6-mana Chandras. Yeah, that's actually not bad, because you can race to that, uncounterable, puts a pretty big clock on him. I could see that.
Yeah. Someone else says Thrun, Hullbreaker. Hullbreaker is pretty much a beating. Yeah, there are things that, I mean, whatever the right answer is, I don't feel like people have gotten to the point where they've made the effort to play it yet.
Yeah.
And maybe we don't need it. I mean, these decks are doing well, but this scenario that we're watching right now is something that is going to continue happening until someone techs up a little bit further.
Is this the reveal my hand? And because I think this is, I don't know if there's an Emrakul, but I feel like this might be reveal my hand. See, this is how the game might have played out. Because I'm with you. I don't want to be in the draw bracket. If I'm these players, there's no way I'm taking a draw here.
But this is awkward when these two players are saying like, oh, here's what I have, here's what you have. All right, let's go ahead and bring it back to the booth now. This game is concluded playing, so they'll determine if one player feels like they want to concede, they will. That is the last match of the round. So turnover should be fairly short here. We will step away. When we come back for the next round, we'll let you know what was the decision there and what actually happened, who took the win, or if it was an actual draw. But this is Rich Gaming. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. We've concluded 4 rounds of Swiss. We got 4 more to go, plus the elimination rounds. We'll be back.
Follow the NRG series on social media on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. You'll find information on upcoming events, important announcements, event recaps and VODs, plus behind-the-scenes photos and videos directly from the NRG series. Connect with us today.